Alright, I'm going to go through how to make a very complicated ring step by step. It's going to have borders on top and bottom of the ring, and it's going to have twisted wire in the middle. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with the twisted wire. I get some brass from the wire area. You can make it out of any color wire if you want. I'm going to get an extra long piece. Okay, it's more than twice as long as my ring size. Okay, I'm going to fold it in half and take the two ends and use a vise and clamp it in the vise here. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece here. This is like a punch, and I'm going to put it in the loop end, pull back, and twist. I'm going to get a nice tight twist on this wire. And just half twist, and I keep pulling back because that makes a nice even twist all throughout. Now I'm going to have to cut this down in length, but before I do that I need to solder these two pieces of wire together because I only need about just a little more than my silver piece there. Okay, here I'm back at the soldering station. I'm going to apply some flux to this, and now I'm going to place solder chips about every half inch or so. Okay, now that I have the solder chips here, I'm going to just heat it up. I'm going to start by having the torch kind of far away, just soaking the whole area in heat. And then gradually I'll bring it closer. And you'll see those solder chips start to melt. They're going to go right into the crack. Okay, the flux is drying up. See, it turns white there. Turn the torch off. All the solder chips are melted. And now I'll put this in the pickle and go ahead and form it. Now I have my solid ring band here, and I'm going to just form this into a ring. And what I do is I bend it up. I don't bend it in half. I actually bend it a little ways down just with my fingers. Okay, so there's half of it. And then I'm going to bend this other side to meet that one so it forms an oval. What you can do to get a perfectly light tight seam is you can either open it up and file in between, or you can use a vise and a saw. Now I'm cutting it so that it's on the left side of the vise. I've attached a vise to the table, and I'm going to cut it so that the knobs are away from this so they don't run into the vise. Okay? And I just cut through the seam right here, and then by cutting on that seam, it cuts both halves of the metal, and it will be a perfect fit. So here we go. I put my thumb on there and just cut right down the seam. Sometimes you might need to do this twice. Alright, and there we go. I have a pretty good seam right there. Alright, now I'm going to solder this ring together. I spread flux on the top here and put one solder chip right on the seam. I'm going to start with my torch kind of far away, soaking the metal with heat. I'm going to gradually bring it closer so that the blue cone is touching on the ring. You see it dries off, the flux turns to kind of a powdery white. That's my clue to get in closer here and go back and forth across that seam. Heat it up and try and get that to spread. And there we go. Now that I have this ring soldered together, I'm going to put it on the ring mandrel, and I'm going to hit it and round it out. Now for speed and demonstration purposes, I've switched over to using this ring that I pre-made and had sanded So you'll notice that the color is different. I had a silver ring before, and this is clearly copper. But it's still going to work for our demonstration purposes. Now, for the borders, I have these pieces of brass wire and then this twisted brass wire. And I'm going to measure the size to make those by wrapping a piece of paper around and then cutting off the excess where it overlaps. Then what I do is I'm going to take all of my pieces here and I'm going to flatten the wire and then cut them to this size here. Now this one's kind of curved, so I got to straighten the wire. And then I'll get an anvil and a hammer and I'll just hit the metal with the hammer to flatten it out. Now to flatten the wire with the hammer, I want to use what's called a chasing hammer. You can see how it's got round end and then a flat end. And this flat end is the important part. Okay, so I'm just going to feed the wire through here and hit it flat. That's all I need to do. It just creates a little bit of a flatness to it. And I'll do that for all my wires. Now that I've filed and sanded all of my pieces and they're all the same length as this piece of paper, now I can go ahead and bend these pieces into rings, just like I did the flat band. So I'm going to bend these into rings, solder them together, and then round them on the ring mandrel, and then you'll see me after I have that done. Here I have everything soldered. You saw that when I went to solder this that I really botched this one up. You can see on the end here that it's really kind of globbed, and what happened was I heated it up too much, so I ended up having to make an extra one here. Okay, I took all three of these rings and I hammered them on the ring mandrel, you know, like this to make them round. And this one, it's a little hard to tell, but this one it's really wavy. It's like, you can see how it goes up and down. It's a common problem and it's easy to fix. So I got a couple of boards here. I put the ring in the middle there, and then I just hit it, sandwich in between the two boards, and then I'll flatten it. I'm going to slip this one on it, the border. Oh, that one's too small. Okay, I'm going to put this one on top of this. That one's too small. And too small. Just a little bit too small, so it doesn't actually fit over there. Okay, when I put these on, I can't fit them over the top. Okay, common problem. We have a ring stretcher that'll fix that. Okay, so I'll take you to that tool and show you how it works. So this is the ring stretcher. I'm in the back room where I have all the metal. Okay, and this handle here, as I pull it up, it actually spreads these tongs apart and it'll actually size it up. Okay, so what I want to do is I slip the ring that I'm trying to size up on here, stretch it out, and then I check it on my original ring band. Okay, and I'll keep doing this until it gets to the right side. Now if you go too fast and stretch it too much, you can break your rings, so be careful. Okay, so I got that one on there now, and if it needs a little motivating with a hammer, that's perfect. Okay, so this is a pretty good size here, and I'm going to size up the rest of them to the same size. And there I have it. I have all three rings on top of my base ring, and they're all I got to do now is solder them in place, run it overnight through a tumbler, and it'll look awesome. And that's it.